Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Drunken Tarrasque. This time, I'm taking over for Mike for a second.
Yes.
Today's topic is going to be the cost of magic, which is the idea that magic in 5th edition is entirely unbalanced, and that we need to put it. There's a possibility to put other things in place to balance it out a little bit, homebrewish. What do you say, Mike?
Yeah. When it comes down to magic, when you're using the spells, when you look at any other system, other editions, and this is where I draw my inspiration from, and the ultimate god, Gary Gygax, is magic. Initially, if you look in the original ones and other editions and other games, have a consequence. And why is that? And it comes down to one important thought, and it comes from Gygax himself. When you play these games, you are there to use your mind to outthink the problem, to overcome issues, to overcome challenges. Gary Gygax himself wanted smart players to overcome challenges. You look at 5th edition, it doesn't encourage that. It completely goes against the core philosophical belief of Gygax, of you solve the solution with your mind. Magic is the easy button. You do not want that in your games for long term. Period. From anything, anywhere. When you do this, it needs a consequence, and homebrewing is the best solution to it at the given moment.
There's many different things that you can do, and we're not saying get rid of magic altogether. We're saying that
I do.
There are a lot of different I'm saying there's a lot of different ways that you can handle the problem and still keep things fun and engaging. And one of the things that you can do is, of course, you can focus on things like collateral damage. If you have somebody with incredibly powerful spells, and you have all these players in that range, say, well, there is a cost here. We're not just going to waive it because these people are in the area. They're going to get some blowback, so they're going to have to be more careful with their spells. Otherwise, they're going to end up hurting their fellow players.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things it is, if you look at the Wizard and Unearthed Arcana, it's kind of the nerdy, I call him the nerdy wizard, where you can change the aspects of your spells. That if you throw a fireball, instead of it doing a dex save, if you describe it in a different way, you can force them to do a constitution save. And that is the way I think people should be looking at this, is that you're going to be looking at increasing the rolls, increasing the minor little challenges. Not in, I'm going to rewrite the whole thing thinking that I'm better than Gary Gygax. It's more or less, you have a problem of no challenge. How do you institute challenge? And as Rachel said, you increase difficulty. And one of them I would say is that someone throws a massive fireball. Yeah, those people in that small initial blast radius, they gotta do a dex save. Well, why not have a
Yeah. Basically, if you're gonna be crazy and you're gonna run in there gung ho without a plan, be like, I'm gonna blast it.
well, my biggest thing is increase the dexterity saving range, but that extended range is the people now do it with advantage of the extra range. And I would say doing that something with people who jack up spells. The only reason why I say this, it also makes that magic user feel more powerful, because look at what I did. I have now blasted this whole massive area, and now I have to, it's like, oh my god, I'm so powerful. You already, by mechanical design, make the magic so much more interesting, but also a larger consequence, not only to him, but to fellow players. It also then makes everyone go, ooh.
You could also have it affect the terrain, for example.
Oh god, yes,
because,
thank you.
If you have the sheer power of all of this, you can affect, you could actually destroy patches of Earth.
Yes, causing a complete destabilization of the area. One of the things is that I think is very important that people so many times forget. It's a character that Rachel and I have made, where she's playing a bard and I'm playing a human sorcerer who got kicked out of his hamlet because he tried to take down rats, and in his enthusiasm cast burning hands and burnt down the crops. Something like that. You use these spells smart to have sometimes the areas caught on fire to cut off areas of not only players and the enemies. You already go, oh shit, I just lit this whole area on fire. It might spread out of control. Take weather into effect. If it's a windy day, roll a dice to see which direction that fucking flames are going, and you might toast your own teammates. Yeah. Again, it makes people think.
Well, yeah, and people will sometimes think... Like,
and get the marshmallows!
This is heavy restrictions, but that's the thing. This can also lead to funny situations. It doesn't have to... A negative can also sometimes be a positive, because you can have that memory. That leaves a memory right there. Like, see, there was that one time you nearly roasted us all alive because you got a little bit excited, you got a little bit heavy-handed with what you were doing.
Again, yeah, well, the game is meant to be fun, but it's meant to have challenge, and you do need consequences for magic. Now, I don't suggest moving to the levels of going to older editions or doing what Dark Heresy does and you turn into a mutated monster or L5R stuff, but it's like, take inspiration for that.
Or something like Mage, where basically the universe bitch smacks you. I think I remember.
Well, maybe I'm not the smartest person or the wisest person to come over my bigotry over magic users, but Die Psyker, you fucking bitch.
Oh god. He really doesn't like Psychers because they can screw up everything, especially if you have somebody who's a little bit heavy-handed with things. It can mess up the entire party. But like we said before,
it's a story that you'll never forget.
Yeah, exactly. If you do pile on a little bit more difficulty in trying to balance magic out, it really will end up being memorable because the magic user has to then be somebody that can be trusted.
Or here's the thing: even if they're not to be trusted, and they say be damned the consequences. It actually makes some interesting story arcs and plots because, whoops, you use magic and you've now accidentally summoned 2 demon princes or demon hosts, and that's now a new enemy. It's like, this is the thing. It doesn't matter. It's like, these consequences will build great games every single time. No consequences build boring games.
But I think the problem these days is there are certain types of players who are thinking about tabletop gaming more in the sense of
I beat the DM.
Video game, being like a video game where you just kind of want to hack and slash and blow things to pieces without consequences and just mess everything up. And I can understand that. I think some people do play just for that reason. But if you are the type that is interested in a more immersive role-play heavy kind of game where you do kind of end up building a kind of camaraderie with other people, this is an option. This is something that you can do, I think, to bring that about.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think you're skirting around the point of it is like it builds mature games. Not in the cliche, look at me, I'm playing Gears of War, I'm chainsawing someone in half.
It's not like, hey, look at me, everything's edgy.
Yeah, it's not the edgy bullshit faggoty stuff, it's the actual, I built a mature game with people who are able to take the give and flow. Because when you have, again, every single time you play this, if you have these minor changes, minor homebrewing, like if you jack up the level of the spell, it might take 1 extra turn. But you have so much more power. It creates this story. It infuses people with this energy of, look at me, I'm pulling so much power. I'm throwing this fireball at level 9, and it's extended its blast radius. It's hurting so many of these people. I'm devastating the landscape. I've made this massive crater that all these enemies are falling into. Right then and there, that sounds like an epic story plot or an epic story moment that, without something in... If you take a generic, bland, out-of-the-box 5th edition, it just, yeah, I just did more damage, I just killed more people. It doesn't have the same impact. It loses such a great impact.
Do you have any other ideas or options for...
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things is...
outside of Collateral Damage?
Look to other editions. And look to Gary Gygax. The game was inherently designed for people to be smart and use their mind to solve the puzzles. with consequences intended. One of the other things I would suggest is this. When you have the idea of consequence, don't just look at mechanical dice consequences. Think of the cultural consequences. Think of how the environment and the people around you would respond to someone who is rending the fabric of reality in front of them. You have something that powerful. How would people respond? Do you have a culture that is welcoming of that? Of going, we need a new powerful god in our village? Or fearful of, get the fucking pitchforks and put this tiefling's head on a pike?
You had to say tiefling, didn't you?
Yeah. Tieflings are evil edgelords, little assholes.
Or drow.
Or drow. A drow are just raping bad.
Or whatever. I mean, you can just imagine, like, a tiny little pixie, like, shows up and just... There's, like, a gigantic crater afterwards, and then just kind of calmly fly out.
Well, that's... Rachel, you are perfectly on point with that one. Think of a pixie. Think of a pixie flying in. No one thinks nothing of, oh, it's just a little tiny little creature. And then, wha-boom, you have this massive explosion, and it just farts away in the clouds and moves away. That would be such a funny story. That would be such a funny story with...
a nuke going off. Oh gosh, and I just imagined, like, what if it had, like, magic fire farts or something? Just, like, farts, it turns around farts and destroys an entire village. Like, that's...
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be laughing at us that we're not being serious, but we are being more serious than many of these other DMs online you'll ever see, is because we're being open and honest.
That makes fucking scary, though. That makes somebody scary. Funny and scary at the same time.
Yes, exactly. Like, you start looking at the idea of, oh my god, my player base and the people around it are going to be a fucking burn ward now. Again, we're using...
We're never going to give this guy chili again.
Right then there, that joke will happen. That type of thing will be in your game. You will, by that very nature of these massive consequences...
No more beans for you. No more Taco Bell for you.
Well, I think I now know what my next character's going to be.
You mean a fire-farting fairy?
Yes. I'm going to be a fire-farting fairy. I'm going to be doing alliteration. But yes, this is why you want consequences. You don't want this
what we just did. This was entire improvisation.
Yes. Again, this is why you have these people responding realistically. You ground your games in realism to a degree because, A, you just had a wizard blow up a whole mountainside. Yeah, there should be terror in the countryside. There should be people going off. It builds the possibility of people actually expanding the lore of your game, expanding the gameplay, expanding what you can do. It far outreaches just mechanical aspects. One little thing, one little change has this domino effect in your game that will build a greater game. And a small amount of consequence will lead to something as a fire-farting fairy of death. And I think that's the best way of leaving it.
See, all four of you who are still listening to this, this is what we leave you with: fire-farting fairies.
Yes. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy us at the Drunken Tarrasque. And thank you. Good night.